recording. Oh, are you not ready?
Yes, I am ready. I just will not stop touching this thing. Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen. Uh, I have nothing to say about this movie. I just wanted to talk about my mic for a second. I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first time ever having such equipment.
I like how you're
So,
like huddled up around it. You're like,
yes, it's very important that the listeners understand that this is very new to me. So, and I have this spit can so I can spit into my mic, and I'm just checking to see if the audio is spiking. It doesn't seem to be spiking or popping. Does it pick up on the smacking I do? Anyway, guys, it was one time. Or I don't remember what the quote was. And we've got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
garlic is bullshit.
Oh, that's another strike. YouTube, please don't demonetize me. Maybe we can have like a 3 strikes you're out kind of system starting now. Dude, this guy reminds me a lot of Cole, our
Our
cousin.
cousin.
A little bit, right?
I guess I can see it.
I feel like he should be on YouTube and being a personality. I feel like he
Yeah.
could
Oh,
be,
yeah.
PewDiePie or one of the listeners that, or one of the talk show host guys that, Cole is such an interesting character. You could easily do it. But today we're talking about Deadstream. This movie came out in 2022. You can watch it on Shudder. You may not know what that is, and I do not blame you. It is a streaming service only for psychopathic murderer wannabes. It is a horror movie website or streaming
So for
service.
me,
It's only it's perfect. Yes, the blood. I need human sacrifice. Give me human sacrifice. So this
wait,
movie
Ty,
was directed.
we need to take out the spinning wheel. It's like, what are we gonna do now? The seance
Yes,
or
yeah, the stupid wheel. Yeah, yeah. He spins it. Uh yeah, seance. Aw. You said you'd have to go investigate. Aw. He was so funny. He reminds me. Yeah, his character Sean was so funny. Did a good job of being a YouTuber. I wouldn't be surprised if that's who he is. I mean, like, he's the writer director of the show, so this is
well,
obviously like
and
one of
with
his
his wife.
babies.
Ty, his wife did it
Yes.
as well, and she did some episodes of Studio C. You can totally see that.
Yeah. 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 So is he a member of the Latter-day Saint or faith or
He
whatever?
might be. I don't know. I didn't look into that, but um,
Because I
what?
recognize, I don't know if it's the Filipino guy, Jeremy Warner. He's also in Studio C. He was Hetty's grandson. I don't remember seeing. I guess he was one of the demons crawling around or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, and
Corner man. Yeah, it's a bunch of
if you caught it, they shot it in Utah, and
right.
they
Payson,
also
Utah.
they also did like the Baby Moses challenge where he's in the rat.
He's like, so, so this YouTuber's trying to get. He's so desperate to get views. He's like strapping himself in as a baby in a little life raft going down these rapids. It's freaking hilarious. That's so funny. Um, so yeah, this movie was like very low budget, but it really works because I find it really compelling watching POV. Because I know with found footage films, they have a really, use that to your advantage. You only have a very limited perspective and scope of range of vision. And it worked really well to see everything that he was seeing cut back and forth. That's where you get the humor of seeing his reactions, and you get the effective scares just just watching like dust settling in or moths fluttering by. Like your eyes play tricks on you. So I really thought that was effective. I really like that in this movie. But so yeah, watching this for the first time was an absolute joyride. I loved it, and I do want to watch it again and again. I want to push on everyone that hasn't seen it. This is a great film to put on the background. It's almost like a YouTube video. You can put it up on your phone, your iPad, or your TV. It looks great, and it's funny, and it's a great time for Halloween, or a great time to watch during Halloween. So, Jordan, how about you, man? What was it like watching this movie for the first time, or rewatching it for the podcast?
So for the podcast was the first time I've seen it. I've watched the beginning though many times. I thought it would hook more people. I started it with my wife and she loved the intro, but then as soon as it got to the house, she's like, "Ah, scary," so we turned it off. But then I watched it with Cameron, and not a single peep out of him. Grant was laughing, but Cameron just like silence, and I was like, "All right, fine, we won't watch it." But
Mm.
I get it. He doesn't really like ghosts or haunted things
Yeah, I pretty
or
much, yeah, I forced my wife to watch this all up until the girl shows up, and then that's like basically where we stopped. And I was like,
because
nothing
doesn't it kind
paranormal's
of turn
happened
into
yet.
like
Yeah.
a lighter version of the Evil Dead? Because it's like
Yes.
it's not quite as crazy and over the top and blood shooting out, but there's like it starts to get pretty crazy.
It escalates,
Yes.
constantly escalates. And I that's what I like about it, is because when I was watching it, I had actually seen the trailer, so I knew some of the
Oh, I
images that
didn't
I'd
watch
be
the
seeing.
trailer.
But I think they did a really good job at leading to each of the images that I saw in the trailer. And I wish I hadn't seen the trailer. I wish I went in blind. But it is one of those things where it'll keep you guessing. I think long enough. Like, I think it's almost half of the movie before anything technically happens, where
Yeah.
you can't explain, other than the fact that the house is really haunted, and the ghost um of Chrissy is, or well, what's her name? Because she's Chrissy, but she also plays the
Is it Mary Beth or something?
Mary. Yeah, what was her name? They don't even have her other name. She plays two characters. It's Chrissy, but then you find out she's the woman that killed herself, or whatever. She's hot. Well, what's it? What does it say? Yeah, it doesn't. I can't find her name anywhere. But
I love
she's
when
the ghost
she's
that's
like
haunted the
convincing
house.
him to do the seance. She's like, it's okay. And he's like, I don't really like saying words that I don't know. She's like, oh, it's for protection. My favorite is when he smashed the wooden thing, and then it turns
What
out
do you
that
want?
was
That was the thing protecting him.
yeah,
He destroyed his only like charm that was protecting him from the evil demons or evil spirits. It's so funny.
it was
So
great.
yeah, this movie worked as like a paranormal haunted house, kind of doubled as a haunted house movie. But like, the haunted house seemed believable. I've been in haunted houses that look just like that, like just abandoned, foreclosed, or whatever it was, and it's just riddled with spray paint, creepy, dingy, floors and walls and everything like that. And so that felt like college, like going through like a bunch of haunted houses and abandoned houses like that took me back. It really did. I don't know, did you ever do like haunted houses, corn mazes, or anything like that?
Well, definitely haunted houses, but not abandoned houses.
That would be trespassing, and I would never
I mean,
ever
we did
engage in
play
an illegal
like
activity.
airsofting in abandoned houses, which is probably more illegal. And it would have been really bad if cops showed up. Like, he's got a
Or
gun.
if we shot one another's eye out, that would have been a real
But we always wear eye protection. Which one
dude.
time,
I
don't you remember? It
I
like
set my goggles down and I put the gun up to it. I shot a hole through my glasses. I was like, this wouldn't protect me from nothing. Cheap plastic. They were not bulletproof glasses, it turns out.
I remember that.
Yeah, I shot a hole through them and I was like, oh, I was wearing these for protection. Good to know. Oh, gosh. And when we didn't have them, we would just shoot each other without eyewear, Some days I
Really?
didn't have my sunglasses, so we just shot at each other without eyewear. It was nuts. Could have been blinded. But now I see the light, and I will not let my kids engage in the activities that I did in my youth. So
No, Ty, that's when you're supposed to take off your glasses and then go cross-eyed. I'm blind.
this is a visual show now, so we can make these kinds of jokes. I love it, folks. Um, Dead Space, Deadstream. What did I say? Dead Space.
You know what
Video game.
your basement kind of looks like the basement of that house.
Dude, it does. I'm calling this a safe room because nothing paranormal has ever happened here for whatever reason. It's because of the stupid seance thing in the closet. He destroys it. He literally like he makes a point of it. He's like, go away, demon, what do you want? And he like starts stomping on it. It like breaks apart in pieces.
Well, what you know what really reminded me of Evil Dead is when he like looks and her face is right in his lap. That just seems like an
Yes.
Evil
And
Dead.
then bites him in the balls. He's
Yeah.
just like, ah. He's
Ah!
like, ah. Yes, like horror and comedy. Like, it's
Yeah.
funny and yet it is terrifying, but like somehow make it into the funniest
Which
thing.
is why, I mean, I seriously, Ty, I burst out laughing when he throws the garlic. He goes, ah, and then he throws it and
It
nothing
just
happens.
bounces off
Isn't
of
that
her.
for
Yeah.
vampires or does that work on ghosts as well?
As I understood it, it's only helped against vampires. So,
Okay.
but I guess
Because,
he was willing to try anything because he had the holy water, which he put along the door. He had the crucifix. Well, see, he never used the crucifix either. Or at least I don't remember him using it. And the knife he tapes onto his was it meat, or no, he puts the meat stick with his GoPro, but he uses like a spear, or like he has like a
does.
part of a
That's
broom
right.
and
He's
tapes his
not
knife to
Slim
it.
Jim.
And then she just takes his knife and stabs him with it, which I thought was super funny too. Like she, and
Yes.
that's the Bruce Campbell part of it, where he like, you're almost getting outwitted, and like he's getting stabbed by all of
Yep.
his tools and everything, and she's just like smarter, faster, can fly up in the hall, in the ceilings and stuff. So that it made it really fun. It also reminded me of Resident Evil 7. Was that the bio, or it was just called Resident Evil 7, right? You're like trying to save your sister and she's in that haunted house.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of that. Like straight up. Like because you're trying to save your sister and she like turns into the demon trying to kill you. And
Mm.
you're like, why do I keep trying to save her? She just keeps turning good and then turning evil, when back and forth, back and forth. Like the demon keeps possessing her at different times. So, but in this one, it's like revealed that it is her. I thought it was a fun twist because I thought she was going to get possessed, but it turns out she was literally introduced. So I was rewatching it the second time. I caught that, yeah, she only appears after the spell has been destroyed. The charm with the hand symbol or whatever on the wall.
Oh,
After it's
interesting.
destroyed, she appears right at the door because he goes out in the hallway to investigate. And then when he runs back in because he hears noises, he stomps on the thing, and then he goes over to pick up the stick next to the door, and there's a big thud at the door. He falls over, and then the door opens, and it's the lady who's actually the
And does
ghost,
he
but she
ever
only
touch her?
appears.
Does she have like
He does push her face, so she does have like solid mass, at least that he
okay.
perceives, because when she gets really close to him, he like pushes her away when he's doing the stream to the audience, because they do a
That's
vote to keep her there, or not to keep her there. And my favorite thing, my favorite joke in this movie was just like, guys, I'm so happy to be, we're monetized again, but it's like, but it's not about the money. And then there's like all these ads or whatever, like merchandise you can buy. It's like, I do it for the fans, and like every square inch of the screen is just like covered in ads. It reminded me of like a Wayne's World moment, which I'm sure
yeah.
Tatiana could
We would
appreciate.
never
Like,
stoop so low. And
never
then he
stoops
like
below to
holds up
we never bow to
Doritos.
sponsors in the eye. And then he's drinking the energy drink. He's like, oh, it's good. I think I'm just gonna drink half. Not that I think that there's anything wrong with this thing. I'm just not 18. Or he's like, it says here that it's got good ingredients in it, but who knows? I thought that was great. Like an energy drink sponsorship where you're like, yeah, I don't really like this stuff, but
It
I'll
was
drink a little
such
bit of it.
a clever intro. I mean,
Yeah.
it for
YouTuber down on his luck, having a
yeah,
comeback. It's very
because I've
funny.
seen it with like Rich showed me one of the videos about Logan Paul or whatever his name is, like how he got canceled because he was in Japan
They
in the
went to like some
suicide.
forest with suicide people or something
Yeah,
like that, kind of
he was just
insensitive or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then he just made a comeback. So I just think it's fun to see like this kind of poking fun at like
Yeah.
YouTubers and getting canceled and then
Right. Yeah. The demonetization and then getting back to monetization. And you're like, has he learned anything? No. Like, it's a living, it's a living, I guess, to some of these folks. But yeah, I think it's really funny because, see, when I watch a movie like this, there's so much to it where, yeah, it's cool to see like a found footage change in that way, because like I think of found footage, I think of Blair Witch Project, I think of Cloverfield, you know, um, it was always the camcorder. This one was clever how it kind of reminded me of Paranormal Activity in a way where, but Paranormal Activity still had like, oh, I'm filming you in this awkward conversation. But this one was like, no, he showed his intro, which was obviously a video about saying to his fans where he's going to go next, what to anticipate with the next episode. And then all the camera put up, to catch the Paranormal Activity, which was great. The very first GoPro he sets outside when he dives out the window that's had me laughing out loud.
yeah.
His legs are flailing. It just jumps out the second story window. So funny. And then my other big laugh moment was when he's in the car with the meat stick he's got his GoPro taped to the beef jerky or whatever, and he's like flopping it out the window, and he's like trying to see the ghost, and then they're trying to teach him something about the family or something. They're doing like investigative work, and he keeps going back and forth between the camera of the demon outside walking toward his car, and he's like cuts back to the live chat that he's talking to. He's like, "What do I do?" And then they're like trying to tell him what to do. And then it cuts back, the demon's closer to the car. I thought that was so funny. That was so clever. Like building tension while doing like a boring exposition thing. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
But
Or asking the old lady, and then she's like, "Well, you're fine as long as you didn't break that charm."
yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, you're screwed. You're out of luck." Oh shoot. Yeah, she's like, "You're gonna be fine." Oh, you mean the charm, the symbol. Yeah, I broke it. Oh well, he's dead. Or something like that. He's out of luck.
It's just a bunch of dumb poetry.
I love he digs at her and you find out it's her poetry and she just wants it to be read to the world or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
and him realizing that she just wants followers. I'm gonna steal your followers.
I'm gonna steal. Which was funny too, because at the beginning you get the sense that she's just an obsessed fan. So she's like, "Oh, I've been watching your show," and it's funny because it actually is a double thing. So if it was like an obsessed fan, it does sound creepy the way you say it. Like, "I watch you," you're like, "Oh, well, I watch your
Yes.
videos."
She has like
But
this
she,
creepy look, especially when she smiles right before she attacks and bites him in the neck.
oh my gosh, yes, yes, she was great. She did a great job, like convincing me that she was evil, and really sold that.
Well, and there were
Did a really
some
good job.
really great moments of tension when he's like, they caught footage of the ghost and he like flips up the camera and there's like an image on the wall and then he flips it down and there's nothing there and he flips it back up and you're like, oh no, is this going to be a jump scare?
Yes, yes, yeah. He does that once, and then when he's finally walking by the hallway, and then it pulls down the iPad. That awesome jump scare, just absolutely awesome. There were two of them that got me too. That there were nothing when he like leans to the water in the bathtub. He's like sticking his hand closer to the dirty bath water, and you're like, "Don't touch it." He goes, "No, I wouldn't touch it, not in a million years." And then he like later wakes up in that bathtub. I thought that was such a great callback. That's so funny. You're just like, that would be horrifying, like a dirty bathtub with the still, still water that's just been sitting there. Oh,
He sits in there for
I'm gonna
far too long.
gag.
I'd been booking it out of
Oh,
there.
I know. Well, he's like in a trance. His eyes glow white. He
Oh,
like,
that's right.
yeah,
I
he's
was
like
almost
out of it.
expecting him to be like possessed or whatever. Like, I mean, I guess he kind of was like in the Evil Dead when he gets possessed.
Yes, because again, he does the seance with this girl, and she tricks him into basically giving him his soul. So he has to like do something for her or like break that contract somehow. Anyway, which was funny because again, there was a tie-in with his sponsors. He kept saying like, "Sponsors, you have to monetize. I'm still honoring our agreement. I didn't know she was going to be showing up, so do you want her as part of the thing?" Like, it was just funny how he's like, again, oh my gosh, dude, there were so many funny. So one of my favorite things in this movie was the nod to like bad horror movie decisions. As soon as
Hmm.
he gets to the haunted house, he goes, "I call this protecting myself from myself," or whatever. He
Yes.
takes two
Oh my
spark
gosh.
plugs and throws them into the woods. Like his car can't leave. So he's like, "I know myself too well and I can't leave." Throws the two spark plugs in the beginning, and then he gets to the haunted house, and then he pulls out his own lock, locks himself in, and then takes the key out and throws it down a vent. I was like, "This is too much." Dude, I was laughing out loud. Like,
Yes.
you're just like, "I'm protecting myself." I'm like, it just added to the humor because I'm like, he cannot leave the house now. It was so funny.
I know.
He's
Even if he
such a good,
wanted to, I mean, like the next morning when he's supposed to leave, like
right. I
how
was
is
like,
he
"How is
supposed
he
to
supposed to
go?
leave?" He threw it down the vent. It was so funny. So that was a great like homage and like a cheeky way of mocking the bad horror movie decisions. Like he literally did it because again it makes sense for his character. It wasn't
Yes, his
necessarily because
personality is
he's like, I don't really believe this is haunted. He's there and he's like, I know myself and I'm gonna chicken out, but it's more important that I make a living filming myself, ridiculing myself in this haunted house rather than thinking, okay, I've gone too far. I need to get out of this place. He's like, I'm protecting myself from myself. I thought that was so funny. So that was a great moment. And then I would even argue some of the costumes were really funny because like some of them
yeah.
looked bad, but like they were still effective because they were very real in the space that he was in. Like the demon from the outside was terrifying. Like when he first finds the spark plugs, and then there's like a creature that like moves.
Or like the baby
Oh,
thing on attached to that guy was disgusting.
oh my word, yes. What? Yeah, the twin. Uh, he mentioned like separated at birth, right? Or did they mention that? Or am I confusing that with a different movie? I think I am. But yeah, basically like conjoined twins. That must have been something else, right? They never mentioned that once in this movie. But
They
anyway,
might have. There was
but
quite a
yeah,
few different.
he's like this boy, and he's got like this ugly tumor, child growing out of him or something. So gross.
Yeah,
Something out of a freaking Cronenberg or
that was only one of my sort of nitpicks. Is I feel like I wish they had a little bit more of a budget to to hire somebody maybe for those practical effects, because I felt like
I
they were.
I would love to know the budget of this film. I think this was a passion project. I think.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
mean it was
I
still
can't
so
imagine
well
this.
done with what they had.
Oh yeah, this is the
I just wanted.
shoestring budget, but yes, and you're right. I would love them to get more funding and do another movie just like this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's really well done. A really funny thing too was like the humor and comedy. It did remind me of Evil Dead 2, just with the fact that the witch like possesses them by like sticking her finger up her nose and like
Mm-hmm.
leaving her deadened fingernail up there. Oh, it's so gross. That body horror mixed with like kind of wacky Three Stooges type of humor.
Yes.
That was so funny. Like I love that. Like he's just like, what's going on? And he like reaches up in his nose and pulls out like a freaking fingernail. So gross, so nasty. Oh gosh, yeah, that was funny. And bathtub curtain, he's like on its face. That was great. Even seeing him briefly, but there was like just down to the very last jump scare of the movie, all the creatures, all the ghosts are coming out. At the very end, he's crawling toward the door, and the little face comes in from outside. This guy's been crawling toward him the whole movie, and he's finally right there at the entryway. I thought that was so funny. It actually made me jump scare at first, but then it made me laugh, and I'm like, that's funny. Like, do like a funny jump scare, I guess. I don't
Wait,
know.
you cut out there for a second. What did you say again?
Oh, did I cut it? Oh crap!
Yeah,
Was I not speaking
I'll
into the mic?
cut that. I'll cut that because it
Okay,
was
cut,
quite
cut
a
that,
while.
cut that, cut that, cut
Cut
that.
that. Cut that.
Cut, 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 cut that, cut that, cut that.
I
Don't
love
cut
that and
any of this.
always.
This is real drama, Jordan. You can't cut any of this out. Okay.
I'm just sitting there looking at a blank screen. So
Oh crap. Oh, so like the video paused.
yeah,
Oh crap. I wonder if that did for the recording too.
yeah, because I'm recording on my end, so
Hmm. That'll be interesting to see. They'll have to go back and let me
I'm
know
just
what
gonna cut
happens.
it.
Just cut that, cut that, cut that, cut that,
Cut that.
cut
Cut that.
that, cut that, cut that, cut that. So
Do you know what you just said?
what did I just say? Oh, I was just saying like the costumes were really effective for the most part. Like you could definitely kind of had a vibe of like a you know, zombie race kind of thing where it's like this rubber suit. It looked kind of tacky, but like it still scared me because like it's like a real person, and I don't know, like it's tangible. It's kind of like practical versus CGI. It's like it really occupied the space he was in. It
Well, it
matched
just
the
felt like more
feeling.
like Evil Dead effects compared to Evil Dead 2. Like,
Right. Thing versus the thing. The thing. There's no distinction, just 2011 behind it or whatever in parentheses. So, um, my goodness. Uh, so did you have any nitpicks? Obviously,
just
um,
I want them to get a bigger budget so they can do more of
right.
this stuff.
Yeah, I would just argue that there was a
They
few times where I saw the prosthetics of like the creature, and it kind of made me laugh like for a minute
Yeah,
because
and
it's
like I'm
kind of
glad
silly
that
looking.
there's humor in it, so they can still lean into that.
Yeah, because yeah, the all the monsters looked really gross and terrifying, grotesque. I thought that was really well done, and the witch, she was great. Like, did a great job. Chrissy's character turning into the demon, and the demon, playing the witch. It had really scary moments too, like walking past a hanging ghost. That reminded me of like something like The Conjuring, right? You have the feet hanging,
Oh my
and you're
gosh,
like,
you're giving
don't
me
get
chills.
closer to the yeah, don't get close to it. But like, he's like, I have to get down these stairs, and you have to go around this tight space. So he like using the iPad, and he's like, she's right there. And then as soon as he puts the iPad down, she's right there at him. Because they did that scare, like the whole movie of Unfriended, I think, did that. Like at the very end, it's been a cam. The laptop finally gets closed because the demon's right there in her bedroom and like attacks her. And you're like, you watch the whole movie and the laptop finally goes down because it's like been for her perspective the whole time, her screen. But then the laptop folds down and it's like the demon's right there. It's like one last jump scare at the very, very end for the final girl or whatever, for the final victim. this one, I'm sad. What happens to Sean? My nitpick is almost like it ends, but like I guess it is the best ending you could have, per se. Like he doesn't make it. Sean is dead. He becomes the new. He becomes the. There was a YouTube streamer that died here, and now I'm gonna put my cameras up here. They just keep
Oh, I
going to the
love that when
house.
he's like he has the thing and it's a t-shirt as he's pulling it back. You think it's like,
Yes, I love that. Yeah, that was really
and he's
funny.
like, you can buy these online, and
This
he's
footage
playing
was
some
sent.
music that he composed. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
you
like,
can
you
buy
can
this on
have
iTunes.
available on iTunes. I thought that was funny. That was really funny. Apple Music or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I can
Very
never
funny.
get sick of the '80s music. I'm sorry, I
Oh, I know
love
the
it.
synthesizer and I liked his movie references too. He called himself like he's like Sean Carpenter
Yeah.
music or whatever, which I thought was funny. His character's name is Sean. And then I also liked when he's like, I'm gonna call it the Seancercist or whatever, in reference to Exorcist or the Exor I can't even know how he says it, but it made me laugh where he's like adding his name into horror movie titles, which is something that like you and I do all the time. So I thought that was funny. At least used to do. I don't know. Have we even done that once on the podcast? Added my name into a title.
I was like, I don't remember ever
Our
doing
fans,
that.
yeah, our fans are gonna call me out on that. I'm like, well, I don't know. Just knowing movies, talking about movies, adding yourself in movies all the time. But yeah, I think this is a great Halloween watch.
Yeah.
So I don't have too much more to say after that. It was fun to gush because I can honestly say there's no way this movie costs more than 100,000, 200,000. Like seriously, like I mean, this is like the Napoleon Dynamite budget kind of thing. Like this was a sleeper hit. It's really well reviewed, critics and audiences alike, and I think it's a really clever way of making like a whole narrative story because it gave you some backstory while he was setting up cameras. Did a good job at building suspension. The movie keeps going. So after you turn, I'd say the halfway point, it's just a thrill ride after that. But the first half, I would argue that on rewatch, I was already like, come on, let's get it going. It's only an hour and 22-minute movie or whatever. So, but yeah, even watching it the second time, I'm like, get to the scares already. Like, I want a scary movie for Halloween, just on rewatch. But the good stuff all happens at the second half, man. I watched the first half. Just start the second. It's like the Titanic. Get past all the dumb lovey-dovey Rose and Jack kind of stuff and just get to the part where they hit the iceberg. That's the exciting part of the movie.
It doesn't say what the budget is. I don't know, unless I'm blind and I can't find it. But
No
um
reaction to what I said. That's good, Jordan. It's
what did you
clamoring
say?
that the good part of the Titanic is the part where the ship sinks. I was saying the second half of this movie is more exciting than the first.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, wholeheartedly. But anyway, I was making a joke like, yeah, just skip all the boring Jack and rest. I'm repeating myself. I'm repeating myself for you because you were looking at the budget of this film, which
I
was
was trying to figure out the
hamstring.
budget because
Yeah, the
it
hamstring budget is awesome. I
well,
want more
anyways,
movies like this.
they also directed a segment of VHS that comes out tomorrow. I'm so excited because I love all the VHS
Is
movies.
it the
Not every single
1994 one, right? The new one coming out?
yeah, I
Yeah,
believe it's 94. It's 99, sorry.
99.
Yeah, 94 I think was the other one. I like them all. There's just segments of each one that I enjoy. So I might
Well,
not
they're all
like
like different directors, right? And stuff.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
That's fun. You get to see, some of your favorite directors directing in a mini episode, basically. So
Yeah, but I was hoping Adam Wingard's version was would have been better.
Wingard, is it Weingard or Wingard? I call
I
him
don't know.
Weingard.
I
Adam
don't know.
Weingard. I think you're saying it wrong. Um, well, let's get into. Would you recommend this movie?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
I've been sending it to so many people. I'm like, you need to see
yes.
this movie. It's
Watch
so
this movie.
funny.
It's great. It's a good Halloween movie.
Yeah.
No one's seen it, so everybody see it. Fun to watch in a group. I think this is a really fun group movie. If I don't know, like I almost feel like just start at the second half, just be like, hey, there's this YouTuber, he's going through a haunted house, and then just watch it from there. And then all this paranormal stuff starts happening, and there's really good jump scares. I like them. Because normally I don't like jump scares just because they leave you feeling hollow. But for some reason, like a live stream movie, I think the jump scares were effective in the fact that they make you laugh afterwards. But again, this movie is a horror comedy. It's a very hard genre to kind of find, but it's meta, it's funny, it references pop culture, other movie references and quotes and characters. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for sure. Definitely check it out. So what other movies have you seen lately, Jordan? We got a few minutes left.
I what's his name? Gaspar Noé. I I haven't been able to finish any of his movies. Like I started Enter the Void, but as soon as he dies, spoiler alert, he it's just in climax, I couldn't get through that one either. Like they're interesting, don't get me wrong, and very fascinating, but I finally finished one of his films, which is Lux Eterna, which is probably because it's only 50 minutes long, but the ending was really crazy and the beginning is really crazy. The middle, but
It's like Grant. He's like, I just so bored at all these dialogue. Like, when are they just gonna get to the action? It's like sometimes you need to set it up, Grant. Sometimes character and motivations are what drives the story. So pay attention. Just assume that everything they put into the movie was put in there for a reason. They didn't just have the camera rolling and they're like, hey, look, there's all the actors at the craft table, eating on their lunch break in between sets or whatever.
I
Wait, this
I've
makes me laugh.
started a bunch of films
Hmm.
that I haven't finished yet. Like I'm excited to finish them. Like started The Vanishing. Did you start that one as well? It's in the
Vanishing.
Criterion Collection.
Oh wait, it was the other Shutter one, right? Watcher, I think was the one I
Oh,
started.
and I watched Watcher. I love The
Yeah,
Watcher. That was
yeah, I
so good.
started it. I liked it. I just fell asleep though. I was too tired because I had already watched 2 movies that night. Shutter, Deadstream, and Into the Wild. I watched Into the Wild.
Oh yeah. I
It's
didn't
like
get
it's
to
like
the end.
127 hours meets like Garden State or something. I don't know. That's my
Yeah.
best way to describe it. Or 500 Days of Summer. Or no, Captain Fantastic. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Captain Fantastic.
But Captain Fantastic is so much better.
It is. Well, that's because you have one guy, and at the end, he's like, I'm dying. I guess it would have been great to share some happiness with somebody and not alone in my van down by the river. Poor guy, dude. Guy had to die. It's based on a true story. Gave up all of his riches and his promising future to go be a bum, to go
It would
down.
be Sean Penn to direct that too.
It would be. When he's not slapping the coffee out of a fan taking pictures of him. He's like, is that my daughter in there? No, I'm quoting Mystic River. I don't know why I am, but it makes me laugh every time I see him. So dramatic. Sean Penn, dude. Anyway, yeah, whatever happened to that actor, the girl next door guy? What happened to him? He
The
just,
Girl Next Door?
yeah, well, the Into the Wild, the actor. What is he doing? He looks like
Oh yeah,
Julian
he is in
Smith.
The
Where
Girl
did he
Next
go?
Door.
He looks like so much like Julian Smith, especially when he's growing out some stubble. He looked just like Julian Smith, internet sensation Julian Smith. Now that we're doing like Deadstream, I feel like Julian Smith, Mulk.
I just keep
Pour him the
repeating
glass of
it.
freaking
Julian
Mulk.
Smith.
Mulk. Yeah, Julian Smith.
Ty, what have you seen lately? What are you looking
Dude,
forward
I
to?
watched American History X. You want to talk about heavy?
Oh my gosh.
Holy moly, Edward Norton. It was funny to see him as this alt-right fascist Nazi, because I'm like, it was really easy for him to play. And I'm not saying I have nothing to corroborate this, but is it possible that he might actually believe the things that he's portraying on screen? I don't know. Maybe not. Is that a real tattoo? I don't know. I've never seen Edward Norton without his shirt on. So, except in this movie,
Maybe
maybe
that's
in
because
Hulk.
he's those actual tattoos. Those
Maybe
are
that's why
real.
they couldn't do the Hulk anymore with him. It cost too much to not only CGI him as green, but to cut out the swastika on his chest. So, but crazy story. If it is based on a true story or something like that, right? I think it is. Anyway, I'm like, is that what it takes to de-radicalize someone from the alt right? Like, they have to be kiddies. If you're listening to this, if you have to be hurt badly in prison, um, parents, you know what I'm talking about. If you had to be hurt really, really bad, and then have your life saved by someone that's African American or whatever, and to finally change your views on your prejudices and preconceived notions, it's like, if that's all it takes, we're never going to end racism. I'm just going to say it now. That's what it takes. Unless you hold these racist views, we have to put you through what Edward Norton goes through in this movie, and I hope no one has to go through that. It was a harrowing movie, though. Holy
Yeah.
crap! But yeah, heavy, and that's why I watched Into the Wild. I was like, I need like the heavy, and then I need like an escapist. But even Into the Wild was kind of sad. It ended like miserably, and yet you could argue that the ending's good. So, and it doesn't spoil it. Before you think I'm spoiling the movie, everyone knows what happened to him. So this is the kid that wanders out in the wilderness and ate some poisonous berries and died. And then he said, like, I wish I would have shared my happiness with people, because coming out here alone was a mistake. Because he tries to leave. The moment he comes to his senses and he's like, I'm going to go home now. And then he gets back to the river, and it's a different time of season. And in Alaska, you now have this raging, current, and he can't get over it. So
It's
he's
literally like
trapped there.
watching an episode of Alone.
Yeah. Yes. It was a lot like watching Alone, except this poor kid didn't actually have any survival skills. Like, didn't know what to do with a moose when he shot it. And he's like, I'm going to harvest it. Because Zach Galifianakis told him what to do with it. Like, it was Zach Galifianakis was the weird guy that teaches him how to gut a big animal, large game. He's like in it for a second. Vince Vaughn's in this movie. Everyone's in this movie. It's great. The dad did a great scene. Like, he was like abusing his wife and everything. I'm not saying it was great that he abused his wife. I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing. But he like at the very end, he like just falls down on the ground. He's like clenching his pants, and he's just like, I don't mean he's about to poop himself. That sounded weird. But he's like tearing at his. I don't know how to describe it. He's just so frustrated. He just sits down on the road and he's just crying. It was really powerful. I got teary eyed in this movie, and it was, this is definitely a hippy dippy movie, but Into the Wild was really good. I liked it. Bunch of weird, free loving yippies in it too. So, is it yippies or yuppies? Both. They were all in it, and the movie had that. Love is great, man. And I'm like, he's still a vagrant. He's breaking the law. He's the rules don't apply to him. He reminds me too much of me. And when I see a character like that in the movie, I'm like, he better get his comeuppance, and he did in a big way, and it's sad. So watching someone starve to death, that is so unpleasant. What a sad ending. So yeah, you take the heavy with the lighter movie. It's good to balance them out. And then I started watching Everything Must Go with Will Ferrell.
Ooh,
Um,
I like.
I liked it. This one reminded me of Faults. This movie had a lot of similarities in Faults. At least, you have a character that's somewhat
Oh, okay.
irredeemable seeming at the beginning. Although Faults, not so much. Like, I only felt bad for the guy in Faults. Like, I never got the notion that he was a loser. Will Ferrell does a great job. He's kind of playing the everyday. Well, he kind of more of like a Harold Crick from Stranger Than Fiction,
Okay.
but a little more reserved, but like really talented. I'm like, Will Ferrell, dude, he's like a man of many talents. Like, he can be a screaming, yelling over the top, one of the funniest actors working today, but he also can do like really impressive, serious roles too, where he knows how to pull it back and do some serious source material where it's like really sad stuff, coming home to find all your stuff on the front lawn and the locks changed. Do you know what it feels like loving someone? I don't know what's what Enrique Iglesias song. But no, the lock on the door has changed.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to see how my singing came through on this new mic. So everybody, thanks for bearing with me there. I had to. That's gonna be so cringeworthy. Take that soundbite, use it against me, blackmail me if you want. That sounded so bad.
Just
Anyway, I
start.
just.
I'm gonna put that in our intro, like playing.
Do you know what it feels like?
Just every time
I
it
can't
starts.
sing worth the crap, and my wife can attest to this because I made a song for her when I was in high school. We'll have to find that audio
Oh,
somewhere.
I remember that.
I
That's.
couldn't be a politician because someone would play that video and I'd be canceled. I'd be the laughing
Oh,
stock.
you
I
think it's
already,
for that you'll get canceled? Oh.
yeah, for that reason. Yeah. Forget what I said about Edward Norton in his movie American History X. It's probably something about my singing ability. They're like, this guy thought that he'd get a girl to fall in love with him by playing this. Not a chance. So, what else did I watch? Everything Must Go. Let me check my notes real quick. It's kind of cool. I can look at my phone while doing the podcast. How about that, folks? Uh, finished Rings of Power. I might have mentioned that, right? Rings of
Um,
Power,
what's
season one.
but the last episode you finished? So what thoughts?
The last. Wait, what? Oh,
What
Rings of Power.
thoughts?
The Rings of Power. It's dumb. It's just a dumb show. It is the most dumb thing. It's not been review bombed. I've watched it. I get why it's got high Rotten Tomato score from critics. I get why it has low from fans of Lord of the Rings. J.R.R. Tolkien. It's just, I'm so cynical, but like, it's, it shows that it's such an expensive, but I mean, this is the most expensive TV show of all time. it's like saying like you have to watch Squid Game, right? You're like, it's the most watched show of all time. You just have to see it, and then you watch it, and it's so forgettable. I'm not going to remember it, after one day. So, yep,
I'd compare it more
don't
to
remember
the
anything
last
from it.
season of Game of Thrones because that's what they kept comparing it to. It's got a bigger budget than the last season of Game of Thrones.
Which is sad because you're like, it doesn't look or feel like anything awesome like Game of Thrones. Then again, I've never watched Game of Thrones, so it's funny to hear me say that. I've watched the pilot, but even the pilot of Game of Thrones had more budgeting and more compelling story and characters than the entire season of Lord of the Rings. Does anyone care if I spoil it? Do you want me to spoil it for you? You're never going to watch it.
I will never watch it.
Should I explain it to you? Okay, so if you don't
Yeah.
want Rings of Power spoiled for you, listeners, skip ahead for 10 seconds or whatever. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Halbrand is like this cool Aragorn character, and I say cool loosely. When you first meet him, you're reminded of Aragorn, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's going to be like a cool Aragorn character because he's definitely more likable than Galadriel, who's like very unlikable. She's just a Mary Sue. She can do everything awesome. No one should question her because she's a whammon. And and in the end, it's just so disappointing. Halbrand turns out to be Sauron. It's the one that she's been looking for the whole time. So he's the guy that helps convince her to forge the rings, which also didn't make any sense. The show is insane. The Harfoots are evil people. My goodness, the Harfoots are so careless. They almost die like 9 times, and they keep blaming Gandalf. They're like, Gandalf's in the show. He's this wizard that shows up, and you're not supposed to know he's Gandalf when he's clearly Gandalf. But anyway, the Harfoot's like he's like healing a tree, and then like one of the kids are like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing!" and walks up to him, and then the tree falls, and they blame him and they exile him. They're like, "Get out of here! You almost got our little child killed." I'm like, that's just bad parenting. Like, you should be watching your kid a little closer. Like, when someone's doing some tree magic, don't walk up to the tree. Don't let your kid walk up unsupervised. And the kid didn't end up getting hurt, and it was a total accident. That's like imagine you're watching your roof or putting on tiles of your roof, and one of them falls off, and you're like, "Get out!" And you're like, "He just fell off your roof, but it almost hurt you in the process." And you're like, "This is your fault." And you're like, I'm trying to do you a service." Like, it made no sense. The character motivations made no sense. They had a fortress, a keep to fight all these orcs, and and this Legolas. Everyone keeps calling him Don Lemonless. He kind of looks like Don Lemon from CNN. Totally does look like him, by the way. He's like, all these orcs come storming up the castle, and he shoots one arrow and takes down the whole tower, and it collapses down. I'm like, this whole keep, this giant fortress, could be destroyed with one arrow. One fired arrow. That's nuts. Okay.
It's like a self-destruct button in the
Yes. Yeah, the Death Star.
Death
Exactly.
Star.
But even the Death Star, you could argue that it needed an exhaust valve, right, to function or whatever. That's your justification. This one is like, why would you have your fortress able to be destroyed with one arrow? But they do it to make like a clever trap, and they kill all these people, and then they have to fight in this village. And I'm like, yo, why leave the fortress? Like, all the orcs would have to be single filed through this doorway, and they could have fought them off one by one like they did in Helm's Deep. But this one, it was like, no, it was all a ploy. Like, no one was there. Like, clever trick. But like, then they have to go fight in this village, and they easily get outnumbered. They try to have the element of surprise on them again, but they get overrun. So many people die in this. It's needlessly violent. Like, Lord of the Rings did a great job at establishing fear and violence without ever having to show much of any gore or anything. I would argue that Saruman was almost over the top, landing on that fetching spike when he falls down. In the extended cut,
Well,
if you
that's the
haven't watched it,
extended cut, yeah.
yeah, if you haven't seen the extended cut, it's not in there. But like, Lord of the Rings is not overall gory, like not grotesque and over the top. Now, you could argue that the orcs have some like gross things. They get decapitated. He gets his intestines ripped out. It's back on the menu, boys. There's quotes from this show that harken back to the show, but it captures none of the magic and none of the imagination from J.R.R. Tolkien or even Peter Jackson, his awesome adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's work. So
You're referring to The
end,
Hobbit.
dude, we now have a found appreciation for The Hobbit thanks to Rings of Power, or I should call it the Rings of Prime, dude. Because Jeff Bezos, it's that meme where you see the Tower of Sauron, and it's the big eye in the big tower, and you just see Jeff Bezos's bald head in there, and he's like, he's like laughing. with his lazy eye. I don't know if pointing out Jeff Bezos' lazy eye, is that like a disability? Am I mocking him for his disability?
I don't know.
That's not what makes you a bad person, Jeff Bezos. It's the fact that you ruined a great and beloved franchise. Thank you for that. Thank you. So yeah, Rings of Power, dumb. But not as bad as She-Hulk. I stopped watching She-Hulk. She-Hulk was so bad. I I I got upset. It wasn't even like rage watching. I was watching because I was amused at first, but then I genuinely felt bad for the showrunners, for everyone involved. It was so sad to watch. Could you imagine watching a superhero show and it's not even like sad source material, but you like felt bad for them, like you pity them? That's what happened. It's so sad. Like I don't have much to say after that. I just
It's so
go
funny
watch
that the guy
She-Hulk.
I
Like
work with said it was in this top 3 shows of
I
this
know he
year.
has to be trolling you, dude. He has to be trolling you. There's no way he really believes that. If you're listening to the show, you need to come on and defend yourself. Rapscallion.
He was on the show, but we lost his audio for The Watchmen.
Well, we accidentally lost it, right? Not because he had a bad take on or anything like that. Whoops. Delete. Oh, you spill a drink on it. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But anyway, She-Hulk, I couldn't finish it. I just couldn't. Like it was so draining. And it was so sad too, because it was fun to hate it at first. Everyone hates it, you know. I don't know who likes it. It's so well reviewed. It's the same thing with Rings of Prime. I'm just blown away by like their critical scores, because I'm like, even objectively speaking, you could argue that some of the things they did were good, but like they're nowhere clearing fresh tomato. And I know for a fact that Amazon, and they've admitted to this, they were hiding reviews. Like I can't think of a thing more dishonest. Like even if you want to promote something, people don't have to pay for this. Like if you have Prime, you watch the show or don't. But they're literally hiding bad reviews, and then they're arguing like, well, we don't know if these people have watched it. I'm like, what? Like, are we going to have to start verifying that we've watched it? You don't even have to watch it. You could start it, which is what millions of Americans have done. They show, they're like, oh, it's the top most watched show. It's like, what they don't show you is that people turn it off after 10, 15 minutes. You haven't even started Rings of Power. Did you watch any of it?
No.
My goodness, I have a newfound appreciation for the prequels, because I heard Andor's good from Ryan. Have you watched Andor yet? I didn't even know it was out. Talk about marketing. I don't think they care anymore. They're just like you come here for Star Wars stuff. We have Star Wars stuff. It's a new Star Wars show. New Star Wars show. Are you upset? Come, join our cult. Watch more Star Wars stuff. Yikes! It's nuts. Anyway,
I mean,
so
if it's as good as Mandalorian, I might check it out.
Ryan said he
it's
likes it better than Mandalorian. It reminds him of Rogue One, which I did enjoy, and it's Calrissian guy. It's his story again. I said Calrissian. I'm pretty sure that's Lando. No, not that character. What's the guy's name? Vespian, Prince Caspian. What's the guy's name? He helps. He shoots the Rebel Alliance guy. Remember, he's like gets the secret plans of the Death Star, and he shoots him in Rogue One. He's that cool Italian, a Spaniard guy. I don't know what his name is. He's got the cool robot. You know.
I'm not crazy about Rogue One. So
Rogue One was a missed opportunity. It was good, but like they took out. I think they had a real good thing on their hands. Same with Solo. They butchered both of those movies. They're so forgettable. Rogue One was the most memorable though, just because of like the whole like. Honestly, like the scene with Darth Vader sticks out, and they were trying to like distance themselves from lightsabers and Jedis, but they still had that awesome scene with Darth Vader, and you're like, it's a pretty different thing. The next ship he boards, it's nothing like that, where he's swinging his lightsaber around and cutting people up, you know, and force choking and throwing them across the ceiling. Because then you watch, you go and watch A New Hope, and you're like, this is strange. So, anyway, different movement, different times.
Well, it's crazy that some of the old Star Wars games have way better stories than these movies, like Jedi Academy.
I think Red Letter Media said it best when they're just like, it is bankrupt, like creatively bankrupt. Like they don't have anything other than a Death Star, and it's so weird. It's like it's so easy to come up with any other story. but it's always like, we're going to do a heist, we're going to go into, it's the same plot every time. Even if you want to argue it's the hero's journey, there's no new call to action. It's like, join the rebels, fight the evil baddies, destroy this
Is
thing,
it too much
go
studio
home.
meddling, maybe?
That's part of it,
Because
I'm
I heard the
sure.
cartoons are still pretty good, so
That's the thing. I watched like some of the cartoon, like I love the hand-drawn one. We've talked about this, the Clone Wars hand-drawn. There's like
I love that one.
20 seconds of dialogue, and the rest is just like some of the coolest force action I've ever seen as a kid. Like, Mace Windu is without his lightsaber, and he like goes to a battle droid and force pushes all the screws and nuts and bolts out of this droid. I don't know what to call that. Force utility screwdriver. I don't know. Force screwdriver the guy. And all the screws and nuts and bolts fall out, and then it's like a minute where he's standing there, and then all of them fall to the ground. Uses that, throws them at other droids. It's awesome. He's using like the force in like unbelievable ways,
It's
getting
on Disney
himself.
Plus. It's Gennady Tarkovsky. I don't know how to say
Is
his
that
name.
what it is? It's on Plus.
He
I love that, dude.
he also did the TV show Primal, which the second season is so good.
I watched the first episode of Primal. That show was nuts. Like,
Yeah, I love it so
intense.
much.
The graphics are really impressive. So yeah, that Star Wars cartoon was so awesome. And like I said, there's hilarious dialogue where like Yoda's trying to get 2 words in, and Emperor Palpatine, he's just like, and it's decided then, or whatever. He's just like ignores Yoda and all the other Jedi. It's great. But
I
I mean,
love that.
at Senator Palpatine, like, no one knows he's the Emperor, right? Because it's the Clone Wars time. But it's so fun. You just watch Jedi fighting battle droids in really cool and clever ways. The lightsaber battles are more compelling than anything I've seen. And I don't even know anything about these characters for the most part. Like Anakin, his droid gets killed, he looks off and he's like, "You will pay." And I'm like, I really felt it. Like, the emotion was there. He was less wooden than freaking Hayden Christensen, no relation. Um, but I love you, Hayden. I was so glad to see you return as Darth Vader in Kenobi series. But again, all these shows, the
I know.
Disney's, the Primes, all of them are just uh
You said there
I
was
don't know.
one last show or movie you watched. Did I miss it?
Yeah, one last one. Let's see.
Because I know
Oh,
you could talk about Star Wars for all
yeah.
eternity.
You're right. We should end this show soon. We already talked about Tinder Swindler, Murder Amongst Mormons, The
Uh-huh.
Innocent Man. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched a bunch of Netflix documentaries, all awesome. Go check
So
those out.
good.
Yeah, really good ones. And then
Anything you looking forward to, Ty?
I'm really looking forward to finishing. I need to see Annihilation. I keep saying I'm gonna watch it. Oscar Isaac, Natalie
It's
Portman.
so good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. For some reason, someone told me the movie was dumb. This has happened with Watchmen. Someone told me like this movie was just not their cup of tea.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
not
it.
for everybody.
Not for everyone, but for us, I really feel like it'll be a movie I'm really looking forward to seeing. So, um, but yeah, plenty of other movies that I want to see. Like, I have a whole list now. I was going through your movie collection, and I'm just going to say it here on the podcast for all of our listeners. Jordan, you have too many movies. It is overwhelming to look through your movie collection, and I just want everyone on the podcast to know that I have a better movie collection than you. So says Tyler Huxford. So thank you, Tyler, for your opinion. Because and I'm pretty sure you own every single of the movies I own, but the fact that I have the scarcity thing, that kind of makes my movies a little bit more valuable than you own. Nonsense, Jordan. You bought like
All the
insane
Free Willy
movies.
movies.
All the free willies. Who does that? You have a problem. Get yourself checked, okay? Anyway, guys, this has been Future Hidden Movie Gems. Hope the mic picked up my volume tonight. I hope this works. Otherwise, this beautiful conversation will just be remembered between the two of us. And thank you, listeners out there. If you're still tuned in, I've just turned more and more as the night has gone on into my mic. So, but eventually I'll get a stand, so I'm not like actually squatting down, because I'm actually hurting my back. I'm getting scoliosis for you guys. So anyway, I love you, listeners. We love you. Thanks for being patient.
Oh, this camera doesn't show my shirt. Oh yeah, Evil Dead baby. Oh yeah.
This camera doesn't show my shirt. It's just my buttons are like straining right now. Everybody, this has been Future Hidden Movie. Oh, and I watched Sunshine again. Sorry, just had to throw that out
Oh
there.
my goodness, I love
I watched it
Sunshine.
with my brother-in-law, and I showed him, because he showed me this scientific movie of like the history of the Earth, a YouTube video, and it like shows trillions and trillions of billions of years into the future of like what's going to happen when the black holes collide and this nebulous galaxy grows and the dying star, all the things, right? And it's like set to a bunch of synthetic music, dude. I think you'd love it, Jordan. I'll send you the video.
Okay.
Because it feels like you're watching Blade Runner, and eventually, like, you also feel like you're watching 2001: Space Odyssey, where you're just like throwing through that color,
Yeah.
hallway. It's a lot like that, because like it just starts like the history of the Earth, and it just keeps going and going, and it gets faster and faster, and you're just like billions of years into the future. Eventually, it's just like it's basically like your computer screensaver that used to look like a wormhole. Do you remember that? Like,
Yeah.
anyway, a screensaver. So, but it's really relaxing. But it also kind of gave me a sense of like existential dread a little bit, because I just realized how
Mm.
small and insignificant we are. Anyway, so there's that. Oh, and then yeah, so Sunshine, Danny Boyle. What a great use of music. I love this movie. I would argue that the only thing with the ending, watching it now, I do understand the tonal shift. It upsets some people. I still like it. I do find the weird like editing where it would like freeze frame a little jarring, just a little bit. It almost feels like a TV Guardian or like Clean Flicks or whatever that they used to have, where they
Yeah.
edit out something, because it just like stops and you're like, oh, did the disc scratch? Did the movie stop or pause? And then it's just like an awkward. I just feel like maybe tighten it up a little bit. Like you can freeze frame for like a millisecond, but like,
I love it now. The first time, yeah, it was very jarring if you're trying to
yeah.
be immersed in the movie, but now I just love his style. I
I did
will.
have a good meme though. So I texted
Oh
out the
yeah.
next morning when the sunlight is blasting through, and he's like, yeah, and he's standing by his star that's being created. He's creating a star behind him, and to reignite the sun. The sunlight creeping through is basically like my alarm clock when I get up in the morning, or like the sunlight creeping, and you're just like, yeah. It's just like made me laugh. It was good. You had to be there. So that was
That's
me
got to be
explaining a
in my
meme.
top 10 favorite sci-fi movies. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Danny Boyle, you are obsessed with sunlight. I think he is represented by the character that keeps watching the sun. He's like, turn it up to 2%, and then he's like, oh. He's like freaking out because his eyes are like burning, and he's like, oh my gosh. And he's like, if you do like 11%, they would literally catch fire. And what's so funny about that character is like he's obsessed with the sun, but I'm like, Danny Boyle literally is obsessed with sunlight. He did it in 127 hours. He was obsessed with feeling the sunlight coming to the canyon. I'm sure there's something in Slumdog Millionaire. I'm gonna go back and watch it, because I'm like, this guy has like whatever that obsession with sunlight is. That's what he has.
More about people feeding into their like junkie addictions, like just
Train spotting.
well, because like he's addicted to sunlight, and I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking of Train Spotting now.
Yeah. No, but I get what you're saying. But yes, I'm just saying there's a crossover between 127 hours in this movie, because like sunlight plays a
Mm.
very prominent role, where Aaron Ralsted really wants to
I
feel
love
the
when you
sun.
try to
He only gets
connect films like
I,
Nolan's movies. The Noble Lie.
the noble lie. What's the lie in this movie? There is no lie. Um. Anyway, I'm just saying, sunlight. It literally is called Sunshine, and it's all about the sun and the dying star, and everyone's obsessed with seeing the sun. Kanada's about to die, and he's like, "What do you see?" He's like, "I'm about to die," and he's like, "What? Tell me, what do you see?" And he's like yelling on the mic. Like, it's such a funny scene now. What do you see? And he's like, it's like vaporized by the sun. Which more and more, I keep thinking that would be the way to go, because it'd be like instantaneous. Every movie I'm seeing now is like slow burning to death. Like, what's that about? I watched I went to the ancient dinosaur museum of
Tight.
natural
They're gonna
history.
be okay. Remember,
They're
they
gonna be
catch on
okay.
fire.
What's that? Which movie was that? The Unhinged, right?
Unhinged.
Yes, Russell Crowe sets
If
the
they
guy
catch
on
on fire,
fire.
Ty, you're gonna be okay.
It's gonna be
It's only
okay.
third-degree burns.
They told that we never see him okay. We just have to take their word for it. They were lying to us, dude.
Oh, I just rewatched. Speaking of, not Kurt
Sunshine.
Russell. What's the guy?
Oh,
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I just watched. What's Gladiator with Cameron and
Oh,
Grant.
really? Oh, nice. Had they
Yeah,
seen it before?
Grant hadn't.
Oh,
So
really?
next time I have him on, we'll have to ask him his opinion.
Oh, dude,
I
Gladiator's
don't.
so
I
good,
don't
dude.
love it now as much as I did the first time.
Oh, for sure. For
I just because
sure.
I've heard the music so much. I don't know if you ever listened to it on your mission, but I listened to it a lot.
Yes, Gladiator. And yeah.
So when I hear it, I'm just like, I like, yeah. Not to say it's not an amazing movie,
I've
but
heard that so many times.
yeah, I've just heard it a lot.
Well, that's the second time I'm saying in this podcast. When you get a mic, it does things to you, listeners. Okay, so don't take your podcast to the next level because you'll behave differently, and I might turn off some of you listeners. I'm sorry. So I'll behave myself better next time. But everybody, leave us an email, futuremovies@gmail.com. Let us a movie. Let us know if there's a movie out there that you'd like us
Let
to
us a
review.
movie.
Let us a movie. Let us a movie too. Yeah, and please let us know if the mics are working. If they're working for you, let us know. So yeah,
Let
that's
us and
everybody.
tomato us.
Tomato us. Everybody, this has been Future Hidden Movie Gems. Signing out. Peace out.
Bye. Garlic is bull crap.